Have you tried using Figma Make and got frustrated because you couldn't get the results you wanted? Today we're going to deep dive into how Figma Make works on the background while going through real use case scenarios and using effective prompt structures that give you superior results. Hello, MJ here, and if you're a designer that wants to use AI tools responsibly and ethically, you're in the right place. Because today we're starting with effective prompting for Figma Make. So let's start with our first use case. And let's say we're working on a website for a pet adoption shelter that shows the available pets for adoption. And let's say we already did our user research and we analyzed that research. And now we want to use Figma Make for the ideation phase. Let's try a very basic prompt first so we can compare it against the effective prompt. So let's say, create a website for a pet adoption shelter. Okay, while that happens, if you're wondering how all of this is being created, Figma Make is using Cloud Sonnet, and this is a large language model. So basically an AI similar to ChatGPT and Gemini. Now, what's most important for us is what's actually happening behind the scenes. But before we get to that, let's quickly check our results. Okay, we have a very basic layout, simple header, featured pets, all available pets, and then a bit more information about the shelter, which is fine. It's very cookie cutter though. So listen here, if you want superior results, we need to make a superior prompt. This right here is just a random phrase. So let's change this to a more powerful prompt. And we're going to start with the task. As an expert UX UI designer, create a homepage for a pet adoption shelter website. Then we'll continue to add more context. Remember, the more specific you get, the less opportunities for the AI to make false assumptions. So let's continue with the context, which will be the pet adoption shelter is called Pet Pals, and their main goal is to find potential parents to adopt their pets. The target audience for this site are, and here you can add the details of your user persona. I'm just going to keep it simple and say it's for pet parents that are responsible, caring, and that love pets. Now, if you're working for a client, they probably already have some type of documentation for their business background, their mission, their vision, and everything about the business that could be relevant for their website. You could use it and maybe you can just copy and paste it as context. Okay, now let's add some rules to the prompt. And remember, by now, we already did user research and we already analyzed the data, so we should probably have some ideas of how the design should look like. So let's say in the homepage, we are expecting to showcase the pet of the month, the vision of the company, and a quick view of the pets that are available for adoption at the moment. Let's also include, make this homepage very visual with big pet images that could draw the attention of the audience. Use a soft, caring, and casual voice and tone. Okay, while this is reasoning, in order for us to harness the power of AI tools effectively and responsibly, it is crucial to understand what the heck is happening right now. Remember, Cloud AI is what's behind Figma Make. But what is this AI actually doing? And I will put it very simple. The AI doesn't really know anything. It was trained on a massive data set of text and code, but when we say, make me a pet adoption app, the AI will give you the most likely response based on probabilities. So let's say it was trained with these 5 apps, and the last one is actually for pet toys. These two have an Adopt Me button on the left, and these two have it on the right. The AI will look at this, and based on these words, it will randomly select one of these two placements because both of them appear 2 times, right? This is based on probabilities. If this time it chooses the button on the right, then that's what it will place on the screen. This random selection is also the reason why you could get different types of results, even if you use the exact same prompt, by the way. And it just keeps selecting UI elements until it finishes the screen. Of course, this is oversimplified because the dataset is actually 1 billion times larger, but I think you get the idea. Now let's see the results for our power prompt and kind of compare it really quick with the basic prompt. And I think we can see the difference here. This section is part of our research, right? Remember, you have to do user research. If you are not doing user research, you are not even doing UX. Now from here, you can start taking some ideas like having this heart as favorite, for example. Maybe you like the way this starts already with a touching story about the pet. And also these details about the pet here are very good ideas to try in our actual designs. From here, you can also iterate. We can try things like, let's say, include a way for users to choose their location to find the closest shelter. And of course, this will work only if this shelter has more locations. So it should be based on your use case. And there you go. Now remember, we're on the ideation phase, so you most probably will not need only one idea. You might need several. So let's try doing this in a separate Figma Make file. So let's create one through this shortcut here. Our second prompt will have the same task and initial context, but we're going to add a bit more from our research and maybe change some of the rules. Because after research, you probably already have a clearer design direction. So let's add more context. And let's say from my user research, I found that users are more inclined to adopt a pet if they can select the specific type of animal they want and see related pictures that include people caring for their pets. We'll add more rules and let's say make the pet of the month more prominent and include some type of story behind it that could be touching for the users. And if you have other specific sections you know you need to include, go ahead and include them here. Another good practice for these prompts are to include examples. So we're attaching examples this time because we're looking for variation, right? Remember, for examples, you could also attach bad examples, things you don't want the AI to do, and of course you have to tell the AI to use those as bad examples. And I believe right now you can only attach 3 images at a time. And let me show you also the third prompt. Same task, same background, but let's include other research insights. So let's include, for the context, from my user research, I found that users are more inclined to adopt a pet if they see successful stories about pet parents saving sheltered animals and helping them heal from injuries and abuse. Let's add some rules. Make sure to highlight success stories and make them appealing and touching for the audience. Include summarized information about the story that could compel the users to click to know more about the story. Okay, we're going to attach different images this time as examples. And give a like if you learned something from this video. It will greatly help this information to spread to other designers like us. Okay, let's run this. And here are the results of our ideation prompts. Of course, you can continue ideating and iterating these as much as you need. Now, what would you do after this? I believe Figma is still working on a way to move these to Figma Design. So at the moment of recording, there's no way to do it inside Figma, but it is possible with the HTML to Figma plugin. I believe it's a paid plugin, but feel free to check it out. I will link the video showcasing this plugin in the description below if you're interested. Okay, let's move to our next use case. And let's say we're working on a coffee shop finder app that shows users the best coffee shops around there and orders for pickup. We have a design in Figma already and we want to explore animation and prototyping ideas. Now for this, we're going to use a technique called prompt chaining, which is prompting in increments, kind of like progressive disclosure, but this would be progressive prompting. Let's start by attaching our design from this option here, or just copy and pasting your frames. And let's start prompting with our context. I'm working on a mobile app for a company called The Brewster. Their main goal is to help users discover the best quality coffee shops close to them, based on authentic reviews, barista skill ratings, bean sourcing, ambience, and vibe. Their main audience are coffee lovers who believe finding a great cup shouldn't be left to chance. I am attaching the designs I have. And after that, let's add the task. As an expert UX UI designer, create a prototype where users can choose one of the coffee shops closer to their location, make it user-friendly and engaging experience for the target audience. Let's add some rules as well. Make sure to keep the design exactly as the attached screen, and you can include more rules if you need it. Now, while this happens, I want to mention that this doesn't always keep your design intact. And I said this in my previous video, this prototyping use case is only useful for messy interaction brainstorming, not for final prototypes yet. Okay, and this is what I'm saying. It sometimes doesn't take your design exactly, but we can fix this. And I like selecting the area before asking for specific changes. Okay, so let's try fixing this. And let's say, make everything inside the card align to the left. Okay, that kind of worked, but the stars still look weird. So let's try fix this one last time. And I like checking the code and see if the system created some type of name for this area or for these stars. And it looks like we do, it's star rating. So let's use that and say, make each of the stars from the star rating to have the dimensions 20 by 20 pixels. While that happens, I want to say that you can attach up to 3 designs in the same prompt, but I prefer to attach them one by one so I can add a bit more information about the relationships and the animations between them. And by the way, if you're struggling with Figma Make, I put together something that could help. The Figma Make Prompt Pack for Superior Outcomes. It's a value-packed resource with over 50 real-world prompts you can use as references, so you can skip hours of guesswork and make more effective Figma Make creations. Plus a bonus, which is my prompt structure explained, with examples and my personal tips for Figma Make. Link in the description below. Okay, that worked, but it will not always be this easy. That's why I'm saying this is only for messy, quick prototyping. If you try to fix every single detail, you may end up doing more work. Yeah, so try to avoid that. And let's continue. And the task will be keep the visuals of this screen exactly as they are, but now when the user clicks on the card, open the attached screen. The screen should enter from the right side as if it's a new page of a book. And of course, you can change this animation or just try to prompt something a bit less specific and see what the AI comes up with. And of course, this is very basic, but you can keep playing around with it and keep iterating until you have something you like. Okay, we are going to test more interactions here, and let's select this div and prompt. Keep the 2 current screens exactly as they are, but now when user clicks on the plus button, increase the number by 1. That's currently on 0. And when user clicks on the minus button, decrease the number by 1. Awesome. There we go. It does work. But not everything will work perfectly. I also tried some things like this transition, and the prompt was change the transition to the next page so that coffee beans fall from the top to the bottom of the screen, and I got this. I did a few more iterations and it got a bit better, but at this point you really need to prioritize and really decide if this is a good use of your time or not. I also tried making this image of a map, kind of navigational, like Google Maps. And after a few iterations, I ended up with something not so perfect, I would say. I know there's a separate Figma AI tool more specific for this kinds of animations, so maybe this will be better with that. But yeah, this is what I got. And maybe if you keep iterating and iterating, you might get something better. But again, you have to make good use of your time. And maybe this is not it for you. But there are other small things I tried and it worked great. Like this favorites button here with a heart that grows when clicked. I also tried adding screens that I never even drafted. So maybe if you're in a hurry, you may want to try this. So this notifications overlay, I never designed it. I just asked Figma Make to create this for me. It even used the same font and color palette of my other designs. So I think that was great. And maybe this is not the best for the final design of this screen, but this could give you really good ideas of what's next. I also made this profile screen from scratch directly from Figma Make, and it does need some adjustments, but it works. It works, and this favorite section is actually working. So if I go back here to this page and I edit, you see it actually changes the favorite coffee shops. So that's the power of prototyping in Figma Make. Now, when your prototype is ready, we can publish it using this option here. So we'll add a title, which is the name that will be appearing in the tab in the browser. And you can click publish. This will create an URL that becomes available to the public web. So anybody with the link will be able to see it. And once it's public, you can keep making changes to your prototype, but the published version will not change unless you manually open publish again and update through this option. A side note here, Figma admins can disable this feature, so if you do not see it, maybe that's why. Now, if you want to unpublish this prototype, you can just go to settings and click the unpublish button. And here we have more options like site description, language. If you want to track the site with Google Analytics, that's an option as well. We have some accessibility features. You can also set a favicon, which is the icon that shows in the browser tab. You can set a preview image that will show when sharing the prototype link in social media. It will sort of look like this. The custom code section, maybe we will not use it as much, but it's used to add code to do things like loading critical tags early. Like if you want to load the analytics early, so you can track more things about what's happening in your page, or maybe loading certain things later to improve the performance of the site. Look, I've said this in my previous videos before, and I'll say it again because it's important. Figma Make is still not good for final designs or final prototyping. It's only good enough for messy brainstorming, messy prototyping with a fail fast, fail often kind of a mindset, but not for final deliverables. So just keep that in mind. And when you use it, to avoid cookie cutter results, try to be very specific with what you want. You can give it some freedom if you're in the ideation phase, but make sure you're still making good use of your user research. Because yes, you still need user research if you're doing UX. If you're still here, thank you for watching. Let me know which video do you want me to do next, and subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this. See you next time.